Shalom Aleichem, everybody, and welcome to the shul. I miss having everybody here so much, and I think about everybody all the time. And I just want to express that, my deep love for everybody that comes to the shul, and for everybody that listens to the classes online, everywhere. And I'm going to give over a few ideas quickly. This is not such an official drasha, more like a few ideas put together just to deal together with the inyan that we're all experiencing. First, let's start off with the halacha. So we got the psak from Rabbi Bixenspanner that the way that to deal with garbage, first of all, we all know that our good friend Yitzhak Shlomo has set up a garbage bin and in the former associated parking lot. So everybody is encouraged to make use of that service. And the information is on all of our groups about how to pay for the service and how to drop off your garbage. If you have garbage left over that you have to put out on the curb on Wednesday, which is Erev Pesach, so the psak is to put out the garbage and be mafkeret, the whole thing together with the bins. And meaning by say, I hereby am mafker all of this garbage and bins that I'm putting out. And then afterwards, when all the garbage is emptied out, then we can bring the bins back into our house or our garage or whatever and make use of them. If there's any little bits of dirt, it will be included in the bittul chametz that we say when we're mavatal all the chametz, when we nullify all the chametz. That's just a quick little bit of halacha, which is always encouraged on Shabbos Hagadol. So let's talk about where we find ourselves right now and what's going on. I want to say a few points, 3 points. The first point is I would like us all to think about taking this opportunity to connect to Jewish history. What do I mean by that? You know, most of us who are around in these times, if we're not very, very, very old, we have really not experienced a lot of the experiences that our forefathers have had. We've been generally safe, generally free from disease, and especially us in North America, you know? When really, in the past, we've gone through this before. First of all, we've experienced tremendous adversity and persecution and oppression over the years. And Jews have found themselves hiding in basements, not coming out of their houses for long periods of time. We even see it brought down in halacha. Certain things that we do because of danger. For example, people who lived in certain Sephardic countries where it was not safe to show yourself as a proud Jew didn't wear their tzitzit out. And now you see, until today, that's the way that they do it also. And on top of that, you know, we haven't experienced this aspect of a magefa, of a sickness, a dever, a disease going through the community. And this is something that we've also experienced. I found a couple of sources here. One was sent to me by the Holy Reb Zev Farkas, and it's an uvda from the Holy Reb Menachem Mendel Mivitebsk. So the Nesiv Shalom regularly quotes Reb Menachem Mendel Mivitebsk. He was one of the holy Hasidim, and he lived in Tveria. But the certain uvda that is quoting, the details of which are not important, talks about how there was a terrible magefa going through the city, and how he had to remain closed up in his house, miyamei Purim ad achar Chag HaShavuos. He remained in his house, just him, closed off in his house from Purim until after Shavuos. So, you know, that's not something that is unusual. There's many Gemaras that have been quoted talking about different things that go on during a magefa. The Shla Kaddish brings down in Parshas Noach. Listen to this. Hazer Kaisev, Kama Pamim Parsha Zu. So the Zohar writes many times in Parshas Noach, V'hizir, and adjures us, Ba'es HaDever, Bar Minan, when there's a dever, a sickness, a disease going through the city. Something else like this. When there's a hashchasa, there's a destruction going on around. There's a destructive spiritual force going through the city where you live. In this case, maybe the whole world almost. When there's a hashchasa, yikanes adam raglav, a person should gather in his feet, meaning don't go out. V'yisaser b'mistarim, and he should hide himself in his covered hidden places. V'lo yetze mipesach beisoy, and he should not go out from his house. Says the Zohar HaKadosh. Shelo yabid boy hamashchis, that the mashchis, the evil force that's going through the world, should not see his face. Stay in your house, in the protection of your house, so that the evil, destructive force, spiritual force, should not see your face. Because as long as the mashchis, the evil force, destructive force, doesn't see your face, it has no power over you, says the Holy Zohar. And this is what happened by the Mabul, the flood. There was a mashchis in the world. Mabul mayim, the flood of water. Even though it was water, really, there was a mashchis, there was a destructive force. And that destructive force had the name Mabul. And that's why the flood is called the Mabul. Okay, in Kosov, and that's why it says in Bereshis, V'tziva Kadosh Baruch Hu lanoyach sheyastir atzmai mimenu. Hashem told Noach he has to hide himself away from it. Dainu beteva kadei shelo yikatre. Go in and hide yourself in the teva, in the ark, so that you should not have a prosecution from this negative force against you. Okay, in shomer nafshay yarchik mikol hashchasa, someone who is a shomer nafshu, takes care of himself, who worries about his own safety in his body and his life, will distance himself from any type of hashchasa, destructive evil force. Ve'yaster atzmai ad ki yavor zam, and he will hide himself away until the disease passes, until the negativity, until the destruction passes. So what do we see here? This first point that I want to say is that right now, as we're all locked in our houses, we're really just joining together with our ancestors, spiritually and physically. And we're kind of playing our part in history, becoming part of our nation in a certain sense. We should know that this is not the first time this has happened to the Jewish people. And we now are experiencing something that just this generation has never seen something like this before. And certainly on a global level, the world has never seen anything like this. We should take a little bit of comfort and know that we can do this. We can get through this because we've done it so many times throughout history. And now it's our turn to develop our fortitude and to be able to get through this in the right way. So let's talk a little bit about what's the right way. What do we see that's going on right now? So first of all, I want to say the concept that a lot of people have been talking about and thinking about, which is that everybody knows that in the way that you came out of Egypt, so too will be the Gula in the future. When it comes to the times of Iksad Mashiach, the footsteps of Mashiach, which we can hear the footsteps of Mashiach. When it comes time for that time, it's going to be in a similar way that happened by Yetzias Mitzrayim. And as we said, everybody knows, we've said 100 times over here, B'schusa Emunah, just like B'schusa, with the merit of Emunah, the Jews were redeemed from Mitzrayim. So too, the Geula Lasid, the Geula Shlema that's going to be in the future, is going to be in the Schus of Emunah, of our Emunah. So what does that all mean? It means that we're going to experience things like were experienced during the negative time in Mitzrayim. And we're going to get through them in a similar way. One thing that we saw in Mitzrayim is that there were makkahs going along. And terrible things were happening. There was disease. Animals were dropping, people were dropping. There were crops being destroyed. There was famine in the land, right? There was natural disasters happening all around. And 80% of the Jews didn't make it out. Were usurped by all of that madness that was going on, particularly in the darkness. And the ones that made it out are our spiritual ancestors. The ones that made it out are where we come from and where all those generations leading up to us come from. So we have to understand about that time that it wasn't just everyone was sitting there with a chumash or with a Haggadah, and as a Makkah happened, they're like, oh, here comes Barad, oh, here comes Tzardeya. You know, like we have our Siddharim and we have these little toys and stuff to make the kids happy and to enliven the Seder for the kids. It wasn't like that. It was terrifying. And some people were gripped with the fear of what was going on. And those people didn't make it out. The ones who made it out were the ones who were not gripped with fear because of their emunah. That's all that they had. We say that they were on the Memtes Shari Tumah, they were on the 49th level of Tumah. And the Yidden were not able to get out. They couldn't get themselves out. Only HaKadosh Baruch Hu could take them out. Such a low level we were on, we couldn't do it ourselves. HaKadosh Baruch Hu had to take us out. And the ones who weren't gripped with the fear of everything that was going on were the ones who still had their emunah. And that emunah is all that was left that was able to take them out, that Hashem was able to take them out. I saw that Rav Ofer Erez was talking about this inyan, and he said that the Geula is going to be not necessarily the way we think. The Geula that's going to happen is not something that we can do b'poyel. We can't stand up and make Geula. Hashem has to make the Geula happen, just like it happened in Mitzrayim. When they were on the 49th level of Tumah and they could not redeem themselves, so too, in Ichvasid Mashiach, we can't make the redemption happen. Hashem has to make the redemption happen. What we can do is we can be ready to accept the redemption when it happens. We can be ready to accept what's happening in the world. We can be ready to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the world and be ready to see Mashiach coming and be counted amongst those people who kept our emunah and didn't get totally wiped out by fear and negativity and a lack of emunah. So it's brought down in the deeper Torah, and Rabbi Nachman speaks about this also, that in the Ikasar Mashiach time, there's going to be tremendous bilbul in the world. Bilbul means confusion, darkness. So how do we see this now? We see that everybody is constantly gripped by the news, by the social media, by what's happening here, what's happening there, what's happening there. This official says that this is this is the way to not get coronavirus. This one says this is the way to not get it. This one says this drug will work. This one says this drug will work. The countries are reporting these numbers and these numbers, but then we really think they're lying and we don't really know. And how do we? Everything's a bilbul. We can't really trust our leaders because our leaders don't seem to know what they're doing, right? And unfortunately, even in the Torah world, we have a difficult time sometimes understanding what the poskim are doing, and we have a difficult time. Many people were already not going to minyanim when some of our leaders were saying, you still got to go to minyanim, and dancing in the streets, unfortunately. And Nebuch, what we saw was that in those places that were very, very not willing to accept what was happening, actually got struck in a very, very terrible way. Nebuch. It's very, very, very sad and very terrible. And I'm certainly not saying that we should think of them in a negative way. God forbid. I'm trying to explain that it's so unclear. It's so hard to see what's the right thing to do. Through this tremendous bilbul. So how do we get through it? How do we understand it? How do we see what's happening? One of the things that I want to say, and we'll come back to it when we finish up here, is something that I say all the time, and I really, really think it's important to think about right now, but is the idea of riding the wave of Ratzon Hashem. Seeing what is happening to me in my life, and accepting what's happening to me, and understanding that it's Ratzon Hashem, and not jumping too far ahead to try and get out of it or go against it. Rather to accept it and understand that Hashem has given me this situation in my life and I need to do something with it. I have an avodah to do in this situation. I have something I need to learn in this situation. So we're going to come back to that. So I want to say something that I heard from Rav Weinberger last week. So Weinberger said that in the Haggadah we say that the Tanaim were sitting together with all the the Maisa, Rishim, Rabbi Kiva, Rishim, Rabbi Yeshua. They were all sitting together in Bnei Brak. Kol Oisei Halayla. And Mefarshim all ask, why does it have to say Kol Oisei Halayla? That whole night. Why couldn't it just say that they were up all night? That night, Oisei Halayla, that specific night. So Weinberger said that he heard from his father. His father was a survivor of concentration camps, and his father was zeicha to, before the concentration camps, was zeicha to be together with and afterwards with some of the greatest Gedolei Yisrael. And he heard in Klausenberg that the word is that Kol Oisei Halayla means that whole night they were teaching us something. They were teaching us that the story of Pesach and the redemption of Pesach and all the growth that happens through Pesach happens on that specific night that relates to every individual Jew. In other words, everyone experiences a night, a Laila, where things are difficult and it's not easy to get through and there's pain and suffering. And that story happened during Roman occupation, when they were shut together and they couldn't go out and learn Torah. So they were all together in their story, being quarantined in their place. All the whole night. Kol Oisei Halayla. So Klausenberger wanted to say that it happened that way specifically to teach us that when we find ourselves quarantined and we find ourselves in a Laila, in a nighttime, in a difficult period, that's when we need the story of Pesach. That's when we need the chizuk of Pesach and the growth of Pesach. Let's understand what that means a little bit. He said further that the Haggadah says, Yochol mi'ba'id yom. I might have thought that. This is by the Rish Chodesh part. Yochel mi'ba'id yom. I might have thought, while it's still day, Talmud loymar ba'avur zeh. So the Torah comes to teach us ba'avur zeh, because of this. B'shah she'es matzah u'marar munach l'fanav. So I might have thought. So the explanation is like this. He heard this from the Beis Yisrael. Unbelievable idea. He said, I might have thought that the place where I can serve Hashem best and the place for growth is miba'od yom, when it's still daytime, when it's clear, when the sun is shining and everything's clear. That's when I can serve Hashem best. That's when I can accomplish what I need to accomplish. Talmud loymar, the Torah comes to teach us, that's not the way it works. Ba'avur zeh. No. When are you going to make the biggest growth? When are you going to really reach your potential? Is at a time when there's matzah and maror in front of you. Matzah is a lashon of metzutza, of fighting and difficulty. And lechem oini, of course, right? Impoverished, fighting. And maror is a lashon of bitterness. When you're in a time of poverty, fighting, bitterness, at that point, that's when the miraculous growth happens of Pesach. That's the time for Geula. That's the time for getting to the next level. Totally unbelievable. And that's where we find ourselves. So the last thing that he said that I thought was very shaykh for us over here is that everyone in Mitzrayim experienced the Makkos, the Jews and the Mitzrayim. And in fact, as we said, some of the Jews didn't make it through the Makkos. So there's an idea that's brought down by many of the Mefarshim, and it's this idea that every Makkah, to the extent that it brought a destruction to the Mitzrayim, it brought a refuah to Yisrael. It was like a v'nahapechu kind of thing, right? And how do we see this also? How do we see this in the Lashon in a beautiful way? So Chazal say like this: Parei amar pen yirbe, Ruach HaKodesh omer kein yirbe. Paro said, Kasher yana oisoi kein yirbe v'chein yifrei. Sorry, the Torah says, Kasher yana oisoi, that just to the extent that Paro would afflict us and whip us more and hurt us more and give us more hard labor, to the extent that he pushed us, the more we were yirbe v'yifrei, the more we multiplied and were fruitful. So Chazal say that Paro said, pen yirbe, right? Remember in the beginning of the situation over there, and Paro said, the new Paro said, let's come on, Hava nis chachma, let's come and make a wise plan over here, lest that they should become many. Pen yirbe. So Chazal say, Paro said, pen yirbe, lest they should become great and many. We don't want them to become like that. But the Ruach HaKodesh said, ken yirbe. So too they're going to become great. In other words, just like you're smiting them to the extent that they get smitten, so too will the Yidden grow. Ken yirbe. That's what happened over there, right? That's the story of, that's all of Jewish history in so many beautiful ways, right? It's Hanukkah, it's Purim, it's every single story since Yetzias Mitzrayim, because that's who we are. You know, we always talk about by Hanukkah that the olive oil, only once it's pressed and squeezed and destroyed really, does that beautiful clear olive oil come out that can be used for illumination. This is the Jewish history. This is what we're all about. So what was the difference between the Bnei Yisrael and the Mitzrim? What does it mean to be a Mitzri? What does it mean to be a Yisrael during a time of plague? The fundamental belief of the Mitzrim, said Rabbi Weinberger, is that all of this stuff that's happening, there's no tachlis. There's no purpose. There's no greater purpose to what's happening right now. Everything that's going on, why did coronavirus happen? It's only because of in Wuhan, they have the wet markets, and people are eating bats, and they didn't cook it properly. So because of undercooked bat, I saw a funny meme this week that said, anyone who ever thought that one person can't change the world has never eaten undercooked bat. But what do you see, right? This is how it started. Okay, so if someone didn't do that, then we wouldn't experience this. And if China would have come out with the information sooner, it wouldn't have gotten so bad. And if Trump would have ordered this and would have closed down New York by force with the army sooner, then none of this would happen. And maybe this drug works, maybe this drug doesn't work, right? But it's all just a whole mess of scientific information. Of course, we have to do our part. We have to learn what's the right thing to do. How scientifically do we keep ourselves away from the virus? But what's our attitude, right? The attitude of a Mitzri is that this whole thing is random, and it's just happening, and there's no tachlis to it. There's no purpose to it. The attitude of a Yid is that whatever is happening in the world right now is happening right in my front door, is happening to me, is happening for me. As we said so many times, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. What is Hashem giving me right now? What is the purpose that I need to experience this right now? I know, hopefully I can figure out some type of purpose. But even if I can't, I know that there's a purpose to it. And I know that it's a Kodesh Baruch Hu. And it's not just an accident that happened in the world. This is the difference between a Yid and a Mitzri. Is that a Yid comes out of Mitzrayim with emunah, always knowing that whatever's happening is from Hashem, with powerful emunah, with clarity, and not with panic, and not with fear, and not with yush, chas v'shalom, not giving up completely. So we have an avodah now. We have to first strengthen our emunah and dispel any pachad, any fear that we might have, and dispel any yush, any despair that we have. Now, when we say dispel our fear, we don't mean to go out and start making minyanim, and to not wear protective masks and gloves, and to not be very, very careful with all the rules that health officials are giving. That's not pachad, that's seichel. That's obviously what everyone has to be doing, no matter who they are. That for sure we have to do. Pachad means that all of the images that I see in the news and the media and all the information that I'm taking in are overloading my system, and I'm terrified, and I don't feel like there's a way out, and I feel like I could be next in line, right? Why? Because I don't believe that Hashem is doing this for me. I don't believe that this is from Hashem. I just believe that what's happening is something in the world, and I could be affected just like anybody else, and whatever happens to me there's not a divine purpose to it. It's just negativity. It's just death and terribleness. Right? That's a pachad, and that's despair. Someone with emunah and simcha can be extra careful with all of the medical guidelines, safety guidelines, and very careful and very concerned about them, but can be happy and can be doing it with simcha, knowing that this is from Hashem, and Hashem is giving me the situation. I have a friend whose name shall remain anonymous, who said, I'll tell you his name. His name is Brian Schiffman. And he said, why can't we take this concept of pikuach nefesh, that everything we have to do in order to save people's lives, why can't we take that and do it like we do Pesach? Be medakdek, have chumras, and be medakdek, and make sure that we are really taking that mitzvah of pikuach nefesh, of chai behem, and doing it like we do other mitzvahs. You know? You should see that the leaders of Yisrael, the Rabbanim, are the ones who are going with masks and gloves. And Taki, you do see this in some circles, right? Right? And some people are very strong in telling us to do, but this is a mitzvah. And I can do that with simcha. I can be like, you know what? Hashem's brought this into the world. I have my part to do. I'm going to do my part. I'm going to be safe. I'm going to put on my mask and my gloves, and I'm going to make sure I'm doing social distancing, and I'm going to make Pesach like this. The way that Hashem is making it happen to me right now. I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do it with simcha. And I'm going to daven for people. And I'm going to cry when I'm davening, but not with yush. I'm going to cry when I'm davening because of my tremendous love for all the other Jews that are suffering, for everyone that's suffering, for if anyone in my family is suffering, chas v'shalom. I'm going to be crying tears of love, right? And of emunah, that I know Hashem can save them. It's a whole different experience. That person is going to be one of the people that came out of Mitzrayim, not one of the people who was shrouded in the darkness of the plagues and taken and lost their chelik in Am Yisrael. Which person do we want to be, and how do we do it? So just a couple of points, and we're almost finished here. So there's two things we can do. We can look at the situation and have a seichel dik view of it and make some kabbalas. Take some things on. That's the first side. And the second side is a little bit bigger picture, a little bit more personal and deep. So first of all, like this. Rabbi Bixenspanner this year, in his Shabbos Hagadol Drasha, it was very, very beautiful, very amazing. And one of the things that he said is we see that he did it, of course, in a very deep Torah way, based on many psukim and nach and ideas. We see basically that Hashem kicked us out of shul. I'm being mekatzer this whole hour-long shir into a small thing. But I'll make his shir available for those who are interested in it. Hashem kicked us out of shul. All around the world, he kicked Jews out of shul. And Rabbi Bixenspanner said, maybe it's finally time that as a Rav, I can speak up. And people won't tell me you're being too strict. And don't talk like that because people won't come to the shul, people will leave. Maybe it's finally time that I can say, enough with talking in shul. Stop the talking in shul. The shul is supposed to be the Beis Elokim, Hashem's house, where the Shekhinah dwells. And when you make a shul, the Shekhinah comes to dwell in it, and it's Hashem's house. And now you want to come in and you want to start making it a bar, a club, a hangout, where you just talk and schmooze about things, right? It's mamish terrible. In our shul, we have a whole pamphlet on this. We talk about this many times, and Baruch Hashem, I'm very, very happy with the level of talking in our shul. It's very low. It could be better, but it's very low. And there's a lot of powerful energy in our shul, and not too much talking. Baruch Hashem, it's very good. But they could be better. But he said another thing, which I think we can all think about in our shul. There's two things that I think we can be makabel in our shul. One of them is another way that we sometimes behave in the shul in a way that's not befitting of the honor of the house of Hashem, where the Shekhinah dwells. Sometimes we come into the shul very late, and we maybe step out and have a snack, have a drink or something, and then we leave early, or we can't wait to get to Kiddush. Enough already with the shul. He said in this lashon that some people come to shul every Shabbos morning just to get home. I gotta get home. They come to shul because just so they can get home. You hear? I know we do deal with this in our shul, and I'm asking that in our seichel-dik way of understanding the situation, and in things that we can do on the ground as a shul, because we have been kicked out of our shul. What can we do? This is something that we can do. We can try to come to davening on time, not because it's a rule that has to be kept, but because it's showing honor to the Ribono Shel Olam, to his house. It's showing honor to the Shekhinah, that I'm coming on time, because how could I miss out any of the steps of davening that are leading up through the Olamas? Asiya, Yitzira, Bria, Atzilus. How could I take out any one of those steps and not get closer to Hashem, to the Shekhinah, and not allow the Shekhinah to come down? I'm not going to rush out at the end and say, the kids are singing Anam Zmirais. That's not for me. I don't need it. I got to rush upstairs and make sure I get a seat for Kiddush. Okay, I love you all. I'm not giving too harsh musar, really. But in the thought behind everything, we can change something about the way we approach the shul, right? And really, it's gonna come down to the main thing that I want to say now, and that is dealing with these issues with shul, but also with the other places we've been thrown out of. There's a more personal, deeper thing going on here that I feel is very important. We weren't just kicked out of shuls. We were kicked out of schools. We were kicked out of yeshivas. Everything. I feel very strongly that Hashem is saying to us, you are missing something. There's something that you need to do that you can only do by yourself in your house. And shul, and yeshiva, and schools, and your job, and everything else that you do is distracting you, is taking you away from your ability to accomplish what you need to accomplish. I think we can all agree that that's a truthful statement. That if Hashem is doing this to us, for us, He's saying there's something you have to do, and the regular system is not cutting it. You're not getting it. I need you to be by yourself in your house, away from shul, away from yeshiva, away from school, away from job, away from everything, in order to accomplish this thing. And I think we can just make this very simple. There's a lot of things we could bring from Rabbi Nachman and the Zohar and all these deep things. Let's just make it simple. Rahman al-Libabai. Hashem wants our heart. Hashem wants our heart. He wants us to connect to Him with our hearts, for real. Hashem wants our heart, and He wants our truth. He wants us to be emisdik. And unfortunately, very, very often, everything that we're doing in our life is just really a way to put that on the back burner, to not think about it, to not think about a true connection to Hashem, and a true desire to be with Hashem, a true love for Hashem, a Rahman al-Libabai. What does it mean that Hashem wants my heart? Think about someone who has your heart, for real. Think about your children. Think about your wife. Think about your parents. Think about someone you really care about. And now imagine if that person wasn't there anymore. Imagine if that person was one of these people who was on a ventilator. Chas v'shalom le'aleinu. Where would your heart be? How would your heart feel? That's someone who has your heart. How many tears would you cry? Would you even be able to eat? Would you even be able to sleep? You would miss that person so much and be so worried for that person. It would be a different life. Chas v'shalom. That's called someone who has your heart. That's when you love somebody. Rachmana liba bai. Hashem wants that. Hashem wants us to give Him our heart. Hashem wants that connection with us. He wants us to have that connection with Him. So He said, you know how you go to work every day and you just have a seder, you just have a way that everything goes, and you do it every day the same way, the same sequence, right? And you do that and you don't think about me at all. You're not accomplishing your purpose. You know how we set up a whole school system in the world, and there's public school system, and we set up exactly what kids need to learn in order to help them to become the people they need to be? It's not working. You're not teaching them who they really need to be. Oh, you think your Jewish schools are better? And you set up a whole system, and you thought about, this is how we're going to teach them Torah, and they're going to learn this amount of prakim, and they're going to learn this amount of Chumash and Gemara, and we're going to set it all up, and we have a whole system, computers, everything, organization. It's not working. You're not teaching them what they need to learn. You think you're going to go to yeshiva and learn Torah all day? You think you're going to go to shul and daven with a inyan? You're missing something. All of those things, even shul, davening, it's become rote, it's become a system, and we just go and we do what we're supposed to do in the system, and we don't really think about Hashem, and we don't really offer our hearts to Hashem, and we don't make that connection. And the Jewish schools have all the Torah figured out, beautiful ways of learning, and packages and programs and everything to teach Torah properly, but Rachmana libabai, the hearts of the children are not going to Hashem. And you can sit in yeshiva all day long, and learn Gemara. And you know what? It's not working. Because you're not thinking about Hashem, and you're not giving your heart to Hashem. So I'm sorry, said Hashem, all those things that you're doing are missing the point, and are distracting you from your purpose, from what you really can be, from the growth that you can have. They're not bringing you Geula. They are your Shibud Mitzrayim, says Hashem. They are your Shibud Mitzrayim, says Hashem. You've made shul and schools and yeshivas and your job and your whole life into Shibud Mitzrayim, where you've busied yourself so much and you've crossed all the T's and dotted all the I's to such an extent that you don't even think about Hashem anymore. You don't even have your heart to Hashem anymore. Rachmana libabai, He wants our heart, He wants us to connect to Him. So He said, you know what? You need to go into your house with no one else around, and you're going to have to start thinking. And you're going to have to start davening. And instead of davening just to keep up with the inyan and go in the exact same situation that you're always used to, you're going to be by yourself in your mind, and you're going to have to think. You're going to see people, Nebuch, are going to be sick and dying, and you're going to start to feel, and your heart's going to be broken, and your thinking while you're davening and your heart breaking are all going to come together, and you're going to start realizing, my heart is not in the hands of Hashem. I don't love Hashem the way I should. Where's that relationship? How can I get it? And you're going to start talking to Hashem, and you're going to start making a deeper connection. And soon your heart is going to be open, and Hashem's going to see everything, and you're going to let it all pour out. All the emes, all the truth of everything you've been missing is going to come out, and you're going to say to Hashem, I get it, Hashem. I just want to have that connection. I want to give you my heart. and we can start giving our hearts to Hashem. Our regular routine is not going to cut it. And here we are. So, within the situation we find ourselves, we can do these two things. We can make some Kabbalahs and we can say, Hashem, I'm so sorry. We can make the Kabbalahs about the shul and about the way we're behaving in shul. And it's no longer in our seichel, it's in our heart. We can say, Hashem, I'm so sorry. I can't believe that I took shul for granted. I can't believe that I took you for granted. I can't believe that I kept going to shul and davening and my heart wasn't broken because we didn't have a Beis HaMikdash. And my heart wasn't broken because I didn't have a tangible connection to your Shekhinah. I can't believe my heart wasn't broken, that you weren't there with me in a tangible way. And we can say in our lives, we can say, Hashem, when this corona is over, if it isn't ended by Mashiach taking us to Eretz Yisrael, which could very well happen at any moment now, in Chodesh Nisan, by Leil Seder, it could happen. We could all open up our doors for Eliyahu Hanavi and taka see something, see a revelation of Eliyahu Hanavi at that point. Are we going to see him standing there? I don't know. Are we going to see a revelation of something amazing? Maybe. This could happen right now. But if it doesn't, we can be makabel that we are going to daven better in shul. And we realize that davening better in shul and coming on time and not talking is not because it's a rule. It's because I realize, Hashem, I made such a mistake. I took so much for granted. I'm going to come on time to shul because my heart wants to be there. I need to have a connection with you on a deep level. I'm going to not talk in shul about sports and shtus and whatever there is to talk about, because how could I? I love you so much. My heart needs to be connected to you. And I can't ignore you and be mavaze you in your own house. God forbid. I'm so sorry, Hashem, for the way I behaved. We can be makabel those things from our heart. And then we can start to think about, in this time, we have to reflect on our own. Where in the rest of my life am I not giving Hashem my heart? Where am I allowing my job to be a time when I don't think about Hashem? Where am I allowing my daily routine to be a time when I don't think about Hashem? I'm going to make it my avodah to give my heart to Hashem, Rahman al-Libabai, in all of these areas. I'm going to always think about Hashem. I'm going to always talk to Hashem. This is the end of the Shabbos Hagadol Drasha for this year. The last thing I'm going to say is from Rabbi Nachman, and so important. Someone who has emunah and someone whose heart belongs to Hashem talks to Hashem. There's the concept of hisbodedus, and there's the concept of always being aware and connected to Hashem. That means that when I go to the store, I get in my car, I say, okay, I don't just go and turn on the radio and turn my brain off. I think, okay, Hashem, I'm going to do this now. And I'm bringing my gloves, I'm bringing my mask. I'm going to the store to buy food for my family, Hashem. Thank you for giving us the ability to get food. I'm driving to shul right now, Hashem. Thank you for giving me a car. I'm going to pick up food from the restaurant that's giving takeout. Thank you, Hashem. What a tremendous chus, what a tremendous ease of getting food for my family there is right now in Toronto. And I'm going to bed, Hashem. I'm going to bed now. Thank you for giving me a day of health. And I'm going to say Kriya Shalamita now. Thank you for everything, Hashem. Always talking to Hashem, right? When you see your child and you say to yourself, Baruch Hashem, that Hashem entrusted me with such a neshama. When someone asks you how you doing and you say Baruch Hashem, right? Now is the opportunity to not just say Baruch Hashem because that's the response without thinking. Baruch Hashem, I'm talking to you. You know, if you run into a person face to face on the street in this time right now, and you stay social distancing, 2 meters away, But you run into someone and you see their face, and they say, "How are you?" Baruch Hashem, thank you Hashem for giving me health and for allowing me to walk outside and for allowing me to see this other beautiful person in the street and to see their smile and to have a chiyus from it. That's for real. Thank you Hashem. Thank you Hashem. Baruch Hashem, for real. In all of these ways. And of course, I know I say it all the time, but taking a significant amount of time in Hisbodedus, taking an hour to talk to Hashem, taking half an hour to talk to Hashem, whatever a person can do, 5 minutes, 15 minutes, to talk to Hashem, and to start discussing one's own existence and one's own life and challenges. There's nothing more connective and more, there's nothing that draws your heart to Hashem more than doing this. So now is the time. If we don't hear this message right now, we're going to be those people who were claimed by the plague of darkness. If we don't hear that Hashem is saying, everything else you've been doing isn't cutting it. You alone, in your house, your own heart, that's what I want you to work on. If we don't hear that now, this could be our last chance. Please, everybody. Please, 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 please. Even if I'm wrong, and that's not the whole purpose of this time, which I'm sure it is, it's always a good thing to do, to give your heart to Hashem. You can't tell me I'm wrong with this. You can't disagree with me. I'm sorry. You can't disagree that it's not good to think about Hashem throughout your day and to thank Hashem for everything. You can't disagree that saying Baruch Hashem and really meaning it is a good thing to do. So please, everybody, let's remember this. Let's make this our effort, and then we can be like a Yehudi who was in Mitzrayim, and not like a Mitzri. We can use the opportunity of Pesach to see in Kol Oisei Halayla, in that night that we're dealing with, we can see now how to get through Pesach and how to come out as Kain Yirbe. We're growing, so too we'll grow. How we'll come out higher than we were. This is our opportunity, and I hope we can all take it. And if it sounds hard, it's not. Just sit and try to give your heart to Hashem. Just try to talk to Hashem and understand that we're in the situation for this purpose. In the merit of us being makabel, that we're going to make shul a better place, that we're going to be more serious with the things we do, and we're going to really mean the things we do with emes. And in the merit of trying to give Hashem our heart and trying to make that loving connection with Hashem, that same connection that we have with our children and with our parents and with our spouses and with our chaverim and our loved ones. We will merit to get through this. B'ezras Hashem, it will be on our way to Eretz Yisrael with Mashiach Tzidkenu. And if it's not quite time yet, and we need a little bit more time, we should merit that we come back to shul after this, and we come with our hearts on fire for Hashem. And shul is a better place, and we're that much more ready for the Geula, which is going to happen very, very soon, if not now. Thank you, everybody. Once again, I want to tell you all, I miss you so much. I miss everybody coming to the shul. I miss the Breslov classes. I miss the people online listening. I love you all, and I can't wait to see you all after Pesach. Everybody should have a freilichen. That means a simchadik, a happy, joyous Pesach, a kosher Pesach. All the details that we do to prepare for Pesach should be with hearts, that I'm doing it because I love Hashem and I want to connect to Him. Freilichen and kosher Pesach. And I look forward to being together with the redemption, the final redemption, or the redemption from coronavirus.